Hey guys, it's me, Chef, and welcome back to the channel. We're doing some more Draft League now, yippee! And this season I joined a league called DBB that is a skill-based league very similar to FBL. The biggest difference between FBL and this league is that there's actually a prize pool for the winner. In my division, which is the third division, meaning that I believe this is like mid-skill level, there's $40 on the line. I could really use $40. That would be quite nice. So I'm going to try hard the shit out of this. I really wanted to cover this league because I think my team is sick and I also am bored and want to upload more videos. The only issue though is that because of how my schedule looks between working, my job, and my internship and school, I cannot consistently play games at my house on my computer. I've already had to play. Actually, I haven't played either game at my house. I played one in my car on my laptop, and then I played one on my iPhone at work. So you know how it goes. We're gonna be doing some post-com. How this is gonna work? I'm gonna break down the matchup, talk about what I brought, and then we'll get into the game. I'll put timestamps throughout the video, so if you don't really want to watch the team building aspect, feel free to just skip ahead, watch the games. I will be uploading one video every 2 weeks covering 2 games of this league. I am a little bit worried that these videos are going to go long because I like to yap a lot about my games, but we're going to have fun anyways, so at the very least there'll be 4 new videos. Hopefully we make playoffs and finals and win the whole thing, but I cannot guarantee that, at least not yet. So, for our week 1 matchup, we're fighting against Regulus Cornelius, who I have fought before. I did not prep very well, and he also played in my team tour league called TFC. I believe he was on the Cuban Drizzle Crisis team. So yeah, he's a chill dude. I've talked to him before. Nice guy. He has a little bit of a psycho team. He's got that like Torn Tinglu Petch combo going on, but without the Tinglu, add in an Iron Treads. Then he's got Cornerstone, Conkeldurr, Rotom Wash, Wo-Chien with Tera, and Tera Granbull. So when I look at matchups, I like to first think about what my best way to make progress is, and then I worry about my opponent's offensive and defensive structures. Immediately, I noticed that Darkrai looked amazing in the matchup, being the fastest Pokemon, and with the choice specs, it could comfortably 2-hit KO every single Pokemon other than Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr with an Assault Vest could tank 2 Ice Beams and 2 Dark Pulses, and Dark Pulse it could take 4. With a Spike Up, however, that's not the case. We could actually 3-hit KO with Dark Pulse, meaning that it could be a one-time switch into our Darkrai. So I went with this like spike stack mode here between Darkrai, our Spin Blocker, and our Spiker. So we went with the specs of Darkrai. We're rocking Dark Pulse, Ice Beam, Sludge Bomb, and Trick. Really, we only needed 2 moves. We needed Dark Pulse and we needed Ice Beam. Dark Pulse and Ice Beam, Ice Beam 1-hit KOs Torn, Dark Pulse 2-hit KOs Iron Treads, Dark Pulse OHKOs Pecharunt, Ice Beam will 1-hit KO Ogerpon, Dark Pulse, then 2-hit KOs Rotom Wash, and then Ice Beam will 2 to 3-hit KO Conk, Wo-Chien, and Granbull. We ran Sludge Bomb just in case Granbull did decide to come. We might want to just be able to slap it for an easy OHKO. And Trick is kind of a useless move, kind of just a filler slot. I ran it just in case like this Assault Vested Torn that I anticipated coming would be packing knockoff. If we lost our choice specs, we might be able to trick away the Assault Vest. I thought that could be something useful for our last slot. I couldn't really think of much else to run. Maybe there was an argument for like knockoff or something, but I just did not see it. The EV spread, very basic. We're just running enough speed for the Torn. We did actually need max special attack in order to get the rolls we wanted on Conkeldurr, and just the rest into HP because it's the lower of our defensive stats, meaning that we are going to be able to take hits overall a little bit better, even though 32 is not that impactful. Again, we wanted to ring this spike stack mode, so we've got our Klefki here as our Spiker. Play rough, foul play, switcheroo, and spikes. We're running a switcheroo lagging tail set, and the vision behind this is that looking at his team into ours, the only flying resist that we have is Klefki. And Torn has 2 options. It can either go Tera Flying, just to get the most amount of damage off, or it can go Ground in order to get a super effective hit on Klefki while being immune to Thunder Wave. I thought those 2 made a lot of sense. And in order to combat this, rather than having to guess which one he would bring and run Thunder Wave, I just ran Switcheroo Lagging Tail to potentially catch it off guard. If it is that Tera ground set, I do actually think it has a reason to stay in on Klefki, so we can pretty comfortably jack its item. And then we can also use this Pokemon to get our spikes. You might be noticing this is our only flying resist and we're running Fizz Def. Also, looking at the matchup, this is our only real rock resist that could take on Ogerpon Cornerstone. Swampert, of course, gets blown up by the grass moves, so I had to pick. I decided to bring another Pokemon that could take on Torn and use this as a Pokemon that can cripple Torn, but also switch in on the Ogerpon. Foul Play did good damage to Ogerpon, especially if it goes for like a weird Swords Dance set in the matchup. I didn't think it would do that. I thought it'd be Trailblaze 3 or a like Spikes U-turn like stabs. I thought those were the two sets that made the most sense, so I felt pretty comfortable just bringing this little guy here. Play Rough is just our stab that we picked. It's good into Conk, good into Wo-Chien if that decides to come for some fucking reason, and it was better into Rotom than any other option that we had. So, in order to really complement this, we went with a Houndstone here. Houndstone actually has a really good matchup into Treads on our team. We do have a Rillaboom, and with grassy terrain, it actually lowers the base power of Earthquake and forces them to run high horsepower, which, unlike Earthquake, is a contact move, meaning that its damage is weakened by Fluffy. That makes Houndstone amazing into non-special Iron Treads, and we are running enough special defense to tank 3 Earth powers from an Iron Treads that is max special attack. If it doesn't go max special attack, we're going to just be able to take its hits really easy. We have Pain Split to keep ourselves healthy, so we can spin block for longer, letting our Spike get even more value. Poltergeist, Body Slip Press, and Will-O-Wisp just made the most sense. Wisp is a move that I'm kind of going to be a little baby about clicking in the matchup, but it's really good into Ogerpon specifically. The reason I'm going to be a baby about it is because that Gunt's Conkeldurr that I expect to be Assault Vest will be hard to break and also hard to switch into if it has the Guts boost. Culver Berry made the most sense to me. I could have gone with Helmet, but I figured pretty early in the game this Pokemon was going to eat a knockoff from either Treads or from Conk. So having more HP was just more beneficial than taking HP away from them, because realistically they cannot touch us, so we will be able to click a free attacking move no matter what. We went with 204, 248, just made the most sense. We lived all our hits. 48 special defense was enough to live those earth powers, so we were able to run a little bit of attack, but it is a negligible amount. So that is the primary core that we have here to force all of our progress. Specs Darkrai plus Spike stack, really good. I then looked at the rest of the matchup, and I noticed a couple of things. Swampert was kind of off the table. It only matched up super well into Treads, but between Cornerstone and Rotom, it was really hard to get anything accomplished. Rillaboom had actually a really good matchup with Tera here, because we could Tera into a type that allowed us to beat up Pecharunt, and we had the option of Grassy Glide in case of that Trailblaze Ogerpon that we were mentioning earlier. Terapagos actually had a really poor offensive matchup. 3 resistances to our stab move made it pretty bad, but we did still want to bring it because, go figure, this Pokemon's going to be checking Torn. And lastly, something that I noticed is that Iron Moth had a fantastic matchup here. Easy entry points versus Pecharunt, only fire resist being Rotom Wash, which if we were able to get the boost off, we can then OHKO it with Energy Ball after Fiery Dance Chip plus the special attack boost. It also let us keep pressure up on Torn, and with the Pecharunt switch-ins, we could actually use Morning Sun to keep ourselves healthy and consistently switch into it throughout the game as needed. So, of course, I just basically spoiled the Iron Moth set. Fiery Dance, Energy Ball, Morning Sun, U-turn. I'm bluffing Tera Grass on this Pokemon because I really did not want to Tera it. I think that Rillaboom had a much better matchup with Tera. Unfortunately, we couldn't do anything cool with the EVs, just had to go max because of the Cornerstone, and we needed as much damage as possible on Rotom to get that favorable kill, and also to get as much damage off on the Torn as possible. U-turn let us keep a little bit of initiative. If the Rotom is like healthy in the early game, it might be better to actually just position our Rillaboom by clicking U-turn on the expected switch. So, it's kind of the vision here. We do actually have this Rillaboom, and this is probably the most psycho Rillaboom you'll ever see. We're an Assault Vested Rillaboom with 128 HP, 252 Adamant, 116 Speed, and 12 Special Defense. So we actually went more HP than Special Defense, even though that gives us worse returns on Assault Vest, mainly because this Pokemon did need to be able to switch into Iron Treads and tank an attack from the Cornerstone. I believe at full we could live a crit Ivy Cudgel with this much HP investment, so that was something that I wanted to play for. As well, we're running Drum Beating this matchup. So what this does is it's a signature move that is 80 base power but has a 100% chance to lower speed. The vision here was that if I click Drum Beating and he goes out into Torn in order to check it, the Rillaboom I mean. Like let's say for example, we've already Tera'd and he doesn't want to go Petulant because he'll be 2-hit KO'd by Tera Blast, and he expects Grass Move. If we click Drum Beating as Torn comes out, we actually guaranteed outspeed it, letting us click Knock Off because we're Assault Vested, we'll live any non-boosted hit, and we could remove it to Assault Vest, allowing our top 3 to just go crazy and spam their moves even better. Knock Off is also nice to remove Boots from Petulant if it decides to go with that route. Grassy Glide lets us revenge kill Pokemon like Ogerpon and Iron Treads. And then Tera Blast lets us blow past Petulant with a Spike Up. So it was a pretty sick set. I like this a lot. Probably my favorite cook on the build. And then lastly, we've got a Terapagos. Pretty interesting Pagos here. We're running max HP, 80 special defense, calm, 60 speed, and 116 special attack. I actually don't know what the 60 speed is for. If I had to take a guess, it's for some kind of Rotom creep or the Wo-Chien, because this definitely does not outspeed anything significant after a Rapid Spin. But again, this Pokemon was not here to do offensive things, just defensive things. It can switch in on Torn, and we can abuse the fact that it'll probably go hard Petulant by getting up our Stealth Rocks. If it is that Terra Flying Assault Vested set, which he might feel comfortable doing because of how poor Swampert looks, we can still get our Stealth Rocks up with our Terapagos. We still do need to run Rapid Spin in case he goes with his own Hazard Stack mode with Spike's Ogerpon plus Stealth Rock's Treads. Earth Power lets us hit Petulant in the event that we need it, and then Starstorm is still just such a good move, and we do need a move to at least threaten Torn with. So that is the pace that we have here. Defensive Pagos, whole bunch of offensive guys, and then we're trying to play for positioning to force our Darkrai into making progress and winning the game. So if we take a look at this game, sorry, let me set this up. That's good enough, right? So we can see that we actually do not see Rotom Wash and instead see a Terra Bug Wo-Chien and a Terra Flying Tornadus. I might be able to move this over more. That's good enough. Anyways, so immediately seeing no Rotom Wash means that there is no Fire Resist on the team, making Moth, every entry point that we can get with Moth in front of Petulant, even more valuable. We no longer have to fish for the special attack boost or just debate U-turn. We can just click Fiery Dance, right? Very nice for us. Seeing Wo-Chien's a little bit weird, and seeing Terra Bug actually did not make me react at first. I just was like, okay, hi Wo-Chien. I actually kind of forgot it could Terra, if I'm being 100% honest, which leads to probably the one misplay I make this game, to be perfectly honest with you. But otherwise, everything is as expected. So in this matchup, I'm looking at this at Team Preview, no Ground Torn and an Ogerpon sitting there. I think that Klefki is going to be my best lead. We can immediately establish our spikes and start spin blocking, getting as much value out of it as humanly possible. Torn cannot actually damage us too badly and would probably not even opt to stay in since it's not immune to the Thunder Wave. And if we lead into Ogerpon and it decides to spike up, we can then foul play it down and then try and spin it off later. So that is what I decided to do. We go with the lead Klefki as we lead into the Wo-Chien. So not only was this a Pokemon I did not expect, I definitely didn't expect it to lead. But obviously I'm thinking, okay, Ruination, Leech Seed, one of those two is coming out, so I will just throw my Spike, as it does just reveal its Ruination. I decide to just stay in here. Main reason being that I didn't want any of my other guys to potentially take a Leech Seed or a Ruination, and Play Rough looked like it actually did about 30% to Wo-Chien, which was Big Chip, and we also wanted to potentially break a sub and not let it get up for free. He does just opt to go to Treads as we Play Rough, and obviously this is going to be the nicest Houndstone switch of our life, as he just gets a Pim Rocks. We're going to click Body Press as we eat up that high horsepower, and we do 44% back. So Treads is basically cooked right now. It can't do anything to our Houndstone. We took 16 from a high horsepower. Dude, you got to draft a Houndstone as your spin blocker. It's so valuable. And then we also took out over half of Treads' HP by turn 4. So his spinner is absolutely crippled. If it even tries to come back in, it's going to take Spike's Chip as well. So he decides to go Torn as I click Poltergeist, mostly to cover the switch out into Pecharunt or the Torn, and we do get another 40% off with our Houndstone as we just go into our Pagos on the Torn. I believe he clicks U-turn here. Yes. That is absolutely fine by me, because even the Pecharunt that he uses to capitalize, we get to go Iron Moth and force our progress immediately. And that is exactly what we do, eating up a Malignant Chain and throwing off a Fiery Dance into the Torn. Here, I have a choice here. We know it's not Terra Ground, so it can't OHKO us, but I do still have the Clef Key here, which I could go out into now in order to try and click Lagging Tail, or try and trick this thing a Lagging Tail. We revealed Assault Vest with Poltergeist, which is the cool part of that, so we did confirm that. Getting up rocks is going to be huge here, but we don't want our Terapagos to take a bunch of chip, so I do decide that this is where our Clef Key gets expended. He clicks Bleak Wind. We did live Terra Flying Bleak Wind, and I actually get the switcheroo off. I'm not fully sure why he did not just switch there. Still clicking Lagging Tail into a Pokemon like Treads, Wochian, or Pecharunt. Well, we couldn't have gotten it off on Wochian, but we got a more chip off. To any of these guys would have been pretty useful, but we actually get it off on the Torn, which basically makes Torn not useful in the matchup anymore. So I just use this as my first chance to get in Darkrai, and he does just sack his Torn. So his biggest offensive threat is off the field, and Darkrai is positioned very nicely. Shockingly, he goes to Wochian and not Conk, and here is where I ignore the fact that it's Terra Bug, and I just opt to stay in and click Ice Beam, thinking about the fact that I could do about 80% to this Pokemon, and that seemed quite nice, and it also revealed to not be Boots, so it was actually a roll. We click Ice Beam, we do 42%, and it clicks Ruination. So funnily enough, what this reveals is that this Pokemon is Assault Vested. It's an Assault Vest Wochian, and it is Terra Bug, so if it had a Bug move to hit our Darkrai, we could have been in a lot of trouble there. We do actually live a Terra Blast Bug. I did check it after the game just to see how bad this could have gone. It couldn't have gone that bad. Darkrai would have actually been able to live after another round of rocks, so we would have found another entry point for this Pokemon later, but we were able to get Chippies off and eat up a Ruination pretty comfortably. Here, I'm looking at my position. I think that if he is Terra Bug and goes for it here to live another Ice Beam, my best play is to go Iron Moth and click Morning Sun. I should realistically be able to live whatever he decides to go for, and if he decides that he sees that I'm Specs and decides to switch out into Conk or out into Pecharunt or something, we had the good positioning with Iron Moth to just click U-turn. And he does decide to go Conk here, so we are just going to go ahead and click off that U-turn, and we're going to go hard out do our Houndstone. This is because Treads is dead, and this is our best check to this Pokemon. As it reveals Earthquake, so it's actually doing a considerable amount of damage. This Conk is not high horsepower for some reason. So I click Pain Split, get a little bit of HP back, and I'm just down to sit here and 1v1 the Conk. I decide that Poltergeist will get the most amount of damage, but we actually get a favorable roll here, letting my Houndstone get even more value as he goes out into Wochian, and I decide to Poltergeist, getting off a little bit of chip. So let's talk about this Houndstone guy, right? For 3 points, I was able to 1v1 Conk, stop the spin, and then get a ton of chip on Treads, and I even chipped the Torn a little bit with it, and got a little bit extra chip on this guy. This Houndstone guy is crazy. You simply must draft him. He does Terra Bug and reveal Pollen Puff. So my Darkrai might have been a little bit cooked if he made that play, but he did not, so you know how it goes. Get off our Fiery Dance, and we get the boost. He goes on to Ogerpon. Here, I do decide that I want to switch. So, the only way that we lose this game at this point is if he is a Trailblaze set and crits a bunch of its cudgels. The vision behind that is, if he Trailblazes on the Iron Moth, as we go to Pagos, he could then crit an Ivy Cudgel on Pagos, and then crit my Rillaboom in order to break both of them. In order to try and avoid this and give myself the highest odds of winning, I go hard to Pagos here, because we could Earth Power, and that guaranteed puts in a range of Grassy Glide. So that's what I go for here. I didn't want to risk a speed tie. Moth still beats the nearly full health Pecharunt, and these three right here as well. So I go to Pagos, he launches a Cudgel. As you can see, we do live. He then reveals U-turn, so it's not Trailblaze. So this game is basically all but over now, so I don't think I'm going to pause. Actually, I will pause one more time, because there is a funny play. He goes to Conk. I'm pretty sure I just go to Moth. Oh, I go Rillaboom here. I think I can live a Mach Punch comfortably, which we absolutely do. Get our Terra Ghost off, and I think I just Terra Blast. Yeah, I do, and this is the funny interaction here. So I skip turns when I play, right? And if you'll notice, my Rillaboom heals first, but the Tera Blast damage indicates that it's not physically defensive. So in my head, I think, oh, it's max speed. It's faster than my Rillaboom. Make sure that you read. If you have Rillaboom, make sure you read. You can actually get a little bit more information, and I could have just cleanly killed the Petron, but thinking that this Pokemon could be offensive, I bail. I go hard to Iron Moth as he gets a recover off. And this actually does matter, as we'll lose differential later. But Iron Moth can still 1v1 this Petron guy very comfortably. Even with the Spadef drop, we would have been absolutely fine. And we actually get our boost immediately, letting us just sit here and beat up the Petron. We trade down. I think I have Morning Sun here because I'm an asshole. I really am. Jesus, I need to die. He just keeps Shadow Balling. Unfortunate, no drops, but he goes hard to Cornerstone. I Fiery Dance. I'm just like, alright, I don't want to lose Iron Moth. You know how it goes. Sack the Pagos. Go to Darkrai. And then we can just start getting off this Ice Beam ship here. Sacks the Petron to the Spike. Shout out Klefki for getting a big kill. Con comes out, lives. I just go hard out into Rillaboom here, trying to block a Mach Punch. And we can just easily Grassy Glide and pick up 2 more kills. He actually feels that he's CC and not Drain. So huge for me. And then we just get 2 Glide kills, and that's the end of the game. Letting us win this week 3-0. Should have been 4-0. I'm just ass and don't know how to read. My bad, guys. Yeah, Rillaboom could have just won. Where is it? Yeah, here on turn 24. If we go back, let me see. How much HP was the Cornerstone at this point? 80, yeah, I would have lost. Yeah, we could have just won so easily, and I just decided to fuck around and lose my Terapagos for no reason. But overall, quite happy with this game. I felt like I was in control for all of it. Our prep went pretty well. I actually think I prepped this game on my own. It was next week that I enlisted the help of Mr. Fruit. Shout out Wagon Fruit for real. That's my goat. But overall, pretty good shit. Nice way to start the season. 2 big missteps. What can you do? Well, not even big missteps. I still won. 2 small missteps, and one of them was just not knowing how to read. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to our next game. Ignore the very awkward jump cut. My bad. I did not set my dimensions, so I'm going to have to cut the video and start from here. So hey guys, welcome back. Anyways, this week, week 2 game was against Treyant, who was one of my first opponents I've ever played in Draft League. I believe he was my second opponent I've ever faced. So kind of a funny little full circle thing that we're here now and now we're playing. He has a very, very annoying team for my team to deal with. Not so much offensively, because if you would look at the Wellspring matchup, which you're typically like, oh, Wellspring's a big threat always. We actually have a really good Wellspring matchup between Rillaboom and Salamence, being able to take its Ivy Cudgels very comfortably and forcing it to run 2 different kinds of coverage move, U-turn and Play Rough. In my head, I saw Wellspring, this big offensive threat, kind of being more of a utility support Pokemon in the matchup, using its Spadef boost and maybe spikes and knockoff to make annoying progress, for him to use his pretty good defensive backbone into our team of Weezing Galar, Moltres, and Snorlax in order to make slower progress to support a Roaring Moon or Great Tusk endgame. That's what I thought was going to happen in the matchup, so I built with that idea in mind. The first Pokemon that we have here is this Darkrai guy. So I immediately identified that I thought the Roaring Moon would be Scarf in the matchup. Also, I forgot to mention this, Shadow Wagon Fruit for the help, man. This guy, I mean, I hate this matchup, and that guy came up with a bunch of great ideas and helped me theory craft with this. Love that guy. Shout out Wagon. Anyways, let's go back to this cool-ass Darkrai. So we thought it was going to be Scarf Roaring Moon. The vision behind that is that when Scarf Roaring Moon comes into Darkrai, it's going to click U-turn, pivot out into a Pokemon that could take the hit and then try and position it back in. The bit with weakness policy is that we can pop that on that first U-turn in order to get an extra big slap into the Pokemon that comes in to check it. I was quite proud of the fact that I came up with this set, and then we're Will-O-Wisp Nasty Plot as well. Will-O-Wisp is just good in the matchup, cripples Tusk if it's an Assault Vested non-booster speed set, cripples Wellspring because we guaranteed outspeed it, and then we can tank any hit that it wants to go for, and if it goes for a super effective hit, once again, policy, yippee. And the Nasty Plot vision is versus Snorlax. So the idea behind it is that in this matchup, Curse, Rest, Chest, Lax looked very aggravating to deal with. If it just went Curse, Rest, Heat Crash, and Body Slam, it could be a real pain in the ass. So the vision here is that if it is that set, we can burn it as it curses, meaning that if it wanted to do actual damage, it has to click rest and pop it quickly, or it has to click curse 3 times. It could also just fish for body slam paras, but we're willing to take this trade because we have nasty plot. The vision behind this being that if it wants to curse up, we can then actually outboost it and then make muscle pass it with Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse Ice Beam has told team for super effective damage, so we didn't need other coverage, letting us actually be able to do this. And if it decides to rest again, it cannot do so because of bad dreams. It will be taking too much chip, letting us boost up even further, and getting guaranteed kills, just making this Darkrai really annoying. So this Pokemon could help out versus Lax, help burn some of the slower physical attackers, and also just make good progress overall. The other benefit of Policy and Nasty Plot is if Wheezing comes in on Darkrai and clicks Strange Steam, barring confusion, we get to +4 Ryoko with Ice Beam, even if it's Spadef. So that felt really good. This is a cool, clean set. I like it a lot. I guess the next Pokemon I'll talk about is going to be our lead, which is Klefki. We're the classic Helmet Klefki into Roaring Moon, Dazzling Gleam, Foul Play, Magnet Rise, and Spikes. We still have to run Magnet Rise, even though we have Rillaboom. Earthquake still 2-shots our Klefki comfortably from Scarf. And we're not even bringing Rillaboom to this matchup, so we really had to cover for that. And it still has to run Earthquake because its other best move to hit us is Fire Fang, which does fuck all for damage to us. But the benefit of Klefki is, as a lead, we do cover Scarf Roaring Moon lead, and what I expected to lead was going to be a Stealth Rocks Jirachi. We could trade Spikes and Rocks with the Jirachi and then threaten it with a Foul Play afterwards. And Dazzling Gleam just gives us good chip on the Tusk and the Roaring Moon. Spikes has so much value in this matchup because Tusk, if it is spin, that means that it's not going to be his win condition, so we don't have to worry about booster speed necessarily. Spikes then hits Ogerpon, Jirachi, Roaring Moon, and Snorlax very hard, and even chips the Great Tusk as well. The only Pokemon that avoid it is going to be Moltres and Wheezing. And speaking of Moltres, let's talk about this asshole. I hate Moltres so much. It's so annoying to fight, and especially for my team. Flame Body, huge problem. One of our best progress makers in the matchup, Salamence, has to fear eating a Flame Body. We could run Lumberry, but then those Stealth Rocks that we expected Jirachi to get up would start accumulating over time, meaning that we have to run an accurate coverage move to deal with Moltres. Furthermore, Rillaboom, of course, does not make good progress into Moltres. Even if we went like a Tera Electric set, we would then have to contest with the fact that we could not hit Wheezing that could potentially come as a check to that Pokemon. And you might be saying, hello Sheffrey, it's me, commenter. You have an Iron Moth, bro. You can beat Wheezing. What the fuck does it matter? And to that I say, you're right, except for that bitch can blow up and kill Iron Moth. Yeah, if you have this Spadef Explosion set, it could beat our Iron Moth. So not exactly the cleanest check. So it was a little bit annoying to find means of making progress into this Moltres guy. We couldn't even knock it off consistently because he could just go to Wheezing on the Rillaboom knocks. So in order to counteract this, I decided to bring Swampert, even though this is the Wellspring matchup where it has an immunity to a stab and resists the other. And what's even weirder is that I'm bulk up pert, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So this Pokemon is our switch in to the Moltres. We can tank 3 Hurricanes with Leftovers Recovery, and we threaten it with a Stone Edge or a Liquidation. Of course, this Pokemon baits in Wellspring, but there is a little bit of a combo that we have to go with the fact that we're baiting that Pokemon in. But what's most important to note about this Pokemon is why are we bulk up? So if we can deal with Wellspring early, which we're intending on doing with the current plan that we have with this paste, bulk up Swampert looks very hard to break outside of a Will-O-Wisp Wheezing, which again, if Wheezing comes, I expected it to be that Spadef Explosion set to not, auto let Iron Moth in and let Iron Moth do its thing. So, outside of those 2 Pokemon, breaking bulk up Pert for Treyant is very annoying. Great Tusk, Roaring Moon, and Jirachi really don't do a lot of damage to us at +1, and we do a ton back to them at +1. Low Kick actually just straight up OHKOs Roaring Moon. Liquidation does about 70% to Great Tusk, and doing well over enough to 2-hit KO the Jirachi. And Stone Edge, of course, will kill Moltres with 20 attack Adamant at +1. Snorlax will also fold to Low Kick, and that Pokemon thankfully cannot Tera, so we don't have to worry about it going like Tera, Ghost, or Fairy, making this a pretty decent little click here. Into these bulkier teams, I like to go with this kind of plan where every Pokemon has a way of making progress, despite in a different condition, right? So if Wellspring dies, this Pokemon can make great progress, or even end game, to be honest with you, but realistically it'll probably die before it gets through everything, but it'll probably take 2 with it, which is quite nice. But again, initially this Pokemon will switch into Moltres, click Stone Edge as Wellspring comes out, and that will let us get in our Salamence here. Salamence has a really great matchup into Wellspring. With Intimidate, this Pokemon cannot be 2-hit KO'd by Play Rough with this investment here. We're running enough speed for Great Tusk and enough physical attack to almost guaranteed kill Moltres with Rock Slide. It's like a 60% roll in our favor, some bullshit like that. But again, we're leading Klefki. There is a chance that we will be able to hit the Moltres in the early game with a move like Foul Play, which will guaranteed put it into range of a Rock Slide at +1. So the vision is lead Klefki, get up a Spike, potentially trading hazards with Jirachi. Then, as Moltres comes out, do a little bit of damage, go Pert, click Stone Edge, bait in Wellspring, go Salamence, click DD, and then we have the option of killing the Moltres 90% of the time with a Rock Slide. It's a little bit of a weird way to make progress, but it does work. The only way that that line does not come through is if Weezing comes, but again, we did still bring this Iron Moth for this Weezing guy. Even though we expected this Spadef Explosion set, actually having Tera Poison Sludge Wave lets us do a ton of damage into it if it does not click Explosion immediately, forcing it to a KO. Otherwise, his only 2 resistances to ground or poison are going to be his Great Tusk and his Jirachi. Jirachi does not want to take the fire move following, and Great Tusk will explode to Dazzling Gleam. T-Spikes is here if Weezing does not come. Forcing Great Tusk into spin and take the toxic damage is really nice for us. We did not expect boots. It was going to be AV or booster speed in my head, so it felt pretty good. If it were that booster speed set, its time to end game is actually limited. We put it on a timer. We have ways of maybe potentially outstalling it or forcing it to not bulk up immediately. Extra damage on Wellspring and on non-immunity Lax is always nice, and same for Roaring Moon. Just felt like a really nice bring. We could even set it up in front of Weezing as needed. It might be weird why we're running 12 defense, but honestly, it's not here for anything specific. Just 244 special attack was all we needed to guarantee 2-hit KO every single Pokemon in this team. And then the last Pokemon in the matchup is going to be Terapagos. Very basic set: Starstorm, Earth Power, Rapid Spin, and Stealth Rocks. Enough speed so that way after a Rapid Spin, we outspeed Wellspring. A shit ton of HP to live a crit Ivy Cudgel from Wellspring after we take a U-turn from Roaring Moon that's Scarf. Really weird calc, but we only needed 204 special attack as well, so it kind of just came naturally. And it just so happened that the math worked out like that. Just Starstorm looks super clickable. Earth Power as our Jirachi coverage move. I went with Earth Power as opposed to Flamethrower and Dark Pulse. Frostlass looks like shit in the matchup, and I did not want Roaring Moon to potentially find an easy opportunity to get in, expecting the coverage move to not be Earth Power. Just trying to limit as many opportunities for that Pokemon to come in felt really good. So I just stuck with Earth Power. It still hits Frostlass, so who really gives a shit? It's only really bad into Weezing Galar. So that's the general idea of this team. Looks a little bit annoying to make progress if our lines don't go correctly, but these lines are very clean, and I like how we cooked this. Shout out Wagon again. And let's go ahead and move over to the game here. Hold on. Cool. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so what we see, no Weezing. Let's go. And we see Tera Poison on Moltres, not Grass, so our Swampert should be very cleanly able to stay in and switch into that Pokemon. So let's go ahead and start this game off now, as we lead Klefki and he leads Roaring Moon. This is like perfect situation that we want to see. If it clicks U-turn, cool, we get up our spikes. If it clicks Earthquake, we then can threaten with Magnet Rise after. We know it's going to be Scarf, forcing it out. We just click Spikes, as he does click U-turn, takes a little bit of that Chippies here, as he goes to Jirachi. And at this point, I'm like, let's go. The line is about to happen, but I get to click Foul Play first. Unfortunately, he clicks Trick and gives me a choice Scarf. I do get a little bit of chip off on this, and it does reveal to be quite Fizz-Def bulky. But he does U-turn out into Moltres, and as you can see here, we do 16%, revealing that it's not max Fizz-Def, but running a little bit of physically defensive investment. But this is exactly, it's more than enough to guaranteed kill with our Rock Slide from shout out Salamence here. We do eat a burn. Who gives a fuck? Klefki's done its job already. We got a Swampert, expecting to get a Hurricane. We eat an Air Slash, as you can see, quite comfortably. Leftovers back up. He does just opt to U-turn to Ogerpon. We click a clean Stone Edge, which after Spike should do... Actually does less than expected, but still almost about half. Get in our mints, and you know what's about to happen. The line has come through. But I click Synthesis, so that kind of sucks. Wellspring's not chipped. We get a clean DD off as he goes to Tusk. Now, remember, we're 104 physical attack. I did play this game on my phone on the clock, but we're going to ignore that part. I did still calc this and saw that this was a roll to kill, non-defensive invested. So here I'm like, shit. Alright, well, I'm not losing my Salamence. I'm going to go to Klefki and just sack it. Or, well, not sack it. It'll end up taking this Ice Spinner. But if it's not max speed, we did have a good chance to outrun it with the D-Gleam here. It clicks Ice Spinner, and to me, it basically reveals, by switching, that it is a slower Tusk. Just let me get a Dazzling Gleam off. Now, I think this is the turn that I got incredibly wrong. So, in this position, we are a burned Klefki in front of a Jirachi. In my opinion, what this Pokemon should click is Stealth Rocks or an attacking move. It's revealed that it was Scarf initially, but that does not rule out the fact that it could have Stealth Rocks. Rocks are really good in the matchup. And to me, this Great Tusk looks to be a bit more defensive, making me lean the Assault Vested thought. So here, I can guarantee that it probably won't click Body Slam and definitely will not click T-Wave. It's probably going to click U-Turn or Iron Head or go for those Stealth Rocks. To me, what I should probably do here, in hindsight, is go to Iron Moth. Forces progress, and even if it goes for a U-turn and goes to Roaring Moon, we can then just sack our Klefki off and then position another Pokemon, like Darkrai, for example, as it's locked Earthquake. I don't do this. I go hard Darkrai, and this was a potential angle to choke as it clicks U-turn. If he goes to Roaring Moon, we no longer live the Roaring Moon U-turn, and we would guarantee die. I do pop my policy here, and we expect to see Roaring Moon. We see Great Tusk, so I'm a little bit confused at this point. Roaring Moon has revealed Scarf. Jirachi has revealed that it was Scarf. So I'm thinking that this must be like the bulkiest Great Tusk imaginable, and he saw that this does not kill with Ice Beam, even at +2. So I just decide to stay in, and he clicks CC. Now, should I have maybe scouted that and just gone to sack Klefki? Yeah, probably. Darkrai looked pretty good still into this Lax. But it reveals that it's Scarf. So I'm thinking now, okay, let's just go Mints and DD. It's locked into CC and it'll be -1. This is an easy Dragon Dance, and we'll get some sort of progress off. He goes to Jirachi, and we click DD to then kill the Jirachi off. Now, our opponent here goes out into Great Tusk. And, of course, we're creeping this, so Great Tusk goes down. Now, I believe that the reason that he made this play is because earlier in the game, we switched out on the Great Tusk. That must have made him think that we were slower. A slower, bulkier DD spread, right? And he probably could have calced it versus the Ogerpon U-turn saw 7% was indicative of very bulky Mints. So he might have thought that he was faster with Scarf here, even after a +1 boost. That's the only thing that I could think of, but we're going to take it. We get the Great Tusk out of the way. He then goes to Moltres, and we get a Rock Slide off, and the Moltres dies. The Mints has now killed 3 Pokemon. The progress has been made. He goes to Snorlax, and I think that we've won the game at this point. I clicked a Wing Beat as it clicks Yawn. He could have done this originally, and if he did do that, maybe losing the Darkrai would have been a potential choke angle, because we're basically down 2 Mons with a burned Scarf, Klefki, and Darkrai dead. But I will say, if he did this first and Jirachi was dead, we still had opportunities to get our Salamence back in. This Pokemon would have had to lock Ice Spinner, or this Pokemon would have had to always be clicking U-turn. So getting this Pokemon back in was not impossible, and we still had Pert, for example, Iron Moth to make progress, and we still had our Terapagos fully healthy. So the game was not over, but here it's looking like pretty much over for Treyant as we go Pert as he goes Moon. I opt to just stay in and click Low Kick because I feel like this Pokemon has done more than enough, and if he goes to Ogerpon and decides to claim kill, we can then get our Mints back in, DD, and win the game. I decide to set Klefki. The reason I do this is because Pert could still low kick the Snorlax, so in the event that something goes horribly wrong, we still have a way of muscling past it. But he just clicks Cudgel, we stand with Mints, DD, and the game basically ends from here. Not my proudest game for sure. I think I played it a little bit poorly throughout the mid game, but you can see how well this Mince just destroys Ogerpon. I think I made one huge misplay, and that could have made me lose the game. You know, if things had gone a little bit differently. But he, I guess, got conditioned at one point, and we got quite lucky with a couple misplays from my opponent that really helped us get back into the lead. If you're in this kind of position, don't panic, even if you're playing at work on your phone. You know, just go Iron Moth. It would have been that simple, but this is not a perfectly clean, but a pretty respectable way to start the season 2-0. We are plus 7 differential. So we're looking pretty good. This is a great start to the season. I've really enjoyed building with this team. I wish my plays have been a little bit cleaner. But again, these are mostly just nitpicks on myself. I've still been winning these games, so like, you know, what can you do? I just like to identify places where I could improve. Again, every time I record these videos, it's more so as like a time capsule for me to see how much better I'm getting over time. And I think if you go back and watch the first couple videos on this channel, I'm much more confident and playing a lot cleaner as well. So, you know, pretty cool stuff. Again, sorry if this is a long-ass video, but I wanted to do this. So we'll be back in 2 weeks for the next 2 games. Unfortunately, I don't know who I play. I know I play KP4, or Kung Fu Panda 4. I can actually just check. Let me pull it up on my phone real quick. Yeah, we play Kung Fu Panda 4, who has a pretty annoying looking team, and then I play in week 4. I don't know how to say, I guess Zephyros? Yeah, Zephyros, who I actually don't know what this team looks like. Zephyros? Hold on, sorry. This is really unnecessary. You can click off now, I don't really care. Oh hell nah. They got the OU team, bro. They got Valiant, Garchomp, Dio Speed, Alamomola, and Tera King Gambit. Okay, well that game's gonna suck. Okay, well next week you get to watch me fight Zamazenta and then the OU tier on a team. So look forward to that. I'll see you guys soon. Toodaloo. Bye. Bye bye.